Welcome to the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. We're diving into a book today that I think a lot of you will find really relevant, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yeah, this one's a classic.
By Patrick Lencioni. And, he uses this fictional story to kind of illustrate these common dysfunctions that prevent teams from really reaching their full potential.
It's so smart because, instead of just being like, here's a model, here are the 5 things, he puts it into a story, which makes it so much more
engaging, right?
Yeah, engaging. It's like we're right there with the team kind of going through it.
You're experiencing it with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And the story focuses on this Silicon Valley startup called Decision Tech. And they seem to have everything going for them. They've got top talent, they've got the funding, a great business plan, but they're struggling. They're missing deadlines, employees are leaving, morale is tanking. What's going on there?
It's like they've got all the right ingredients, but they just can't seem to bake the cake, right?
Right.
And I think that's the point Lencioni's trying to make. You can have all the talent and resources in the world, but if you're not functioning as a team, you're not going to get anywhere.
So they bring in this new CEO, Catherine Peterson, to kind of right the ship. And she's got a pretty interesting background. She's former military. She was a COO of an auto plant. And, most importantly, she's got this track record of building high-performing teams.
I think that background's really important. It shows that she understands teamwork from different angles. It's not just some theoretical concept for her. She's been in the trenches.
She's lived it.
Yeah.
And that gives her the credibility to come in and be like, okay, here's what we need to do. But of course, not everyone's thrilled to have her there. Some of the executives are skeptical. They kind of see her as an outsider. They question her methods, her age. Like, is she really going to be able to understand their world?
Oh, yeah. There's definitely that resistance to change. They're comfortable with the way things are, even though it's clearly not working. And here comes this woman who's, older. She's not from the tech world. She's a disruptor.
Yeah, she's shaking things up.
Exactly.
And instead of just coming in and making a bunch of changes right away, she actually spends her first few weeks at Decision Tech just observing. She's watching, she's listening, she's kind of getting a feel for the team dynamics. What do you think about that approach?
It's really smart. I mean, she's not just trying to slap a Band-Aid on the problem. She wants to understand the root cause, right? So she's gathering information, she's identifying the key players, kind of figuring out the unspoken rules that are governing the team's behavior. It's like a doctor, before they prescribe anything, they want to run some tests. They want to diagnose the problem.
Exactly. They got to figure out what's going on. And what she sees is not pretty. I mean, this is a team that's deeply dysfunctional. They're operating in silos. They're avoiding conflict. They're not communicating effectively. And it's ultimately preventing them from achieving their goals. So she decides to take a pretty bold step and take the entire executive team on a retreat to Napa Valley.
The Napa retreat.
To confront these issues head on.
Yeah, it's not just about getting away from the office. It's about creating a space where they can't escape these tough conversations. They're kind of forced to engage with each other in a different way.
And even the setting, right? It's this cozy inn nestled among the vineyards. It's like the opposite of the sterile boardroom.
Totally. It's like she's trying to create this environment that's conducive to, vulnerability, connection, where they can actually, let their guard down a little bit.
But getting them there is only half the battle, right?
Yeah.
She faces some pushback, especially from Jeff Shanley, the former CEO who got demoted, but he's still part of the team. And he's not happy about the retreat. He thinks it's a waste of time and money.
Jeff represents that fear of change, right? He's clinging to the old ways, even if they're not working. And Catherine, she's not backing down. She knows this retreat is crucial for the team's future.
So they all end up at this charming inn in Napa Valley, ready to dive into these 5 dysfunctions that Catherine has identified.
Right.
And she kicks off the retreat by saying, point blank, we're not functioning as a team. In fact, we're quite dysfunctional.
Talk about a wake-up call.
Right.
No sugarcoating there.
No. And then she dives right into that first dysfunction, which is the absence of trust.
Trust is everything, right?
Yeah, it's foundational.
It is. And she talked about how it's not just about believing in each other's competence. It's about feeling safe enough to be vulnerable, to admit weaknesses, to ask for help.
And I'm curious, for you as a listener,
yeah,
what comes to mind when you hear the word trust in the context of a team? What does that look like? Why is it so important?
Yeah, think about the teams you're on. Can you be yourself? Can you speak freely? Can you disagree without fear of repercussions? If not, there might be some trust issues lurking beneath the surface.
And that's exactly what Catherine starts to address at this retreat. She has this really simple but powerful exercise called personal histories, where everyone has to share something about themselves.
I love this exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it helps the team members to kind of see each other as human beings. They're sharing these seemingly insignificant details about their backgrounds, their childhoods, their families, but it creates this sense of shared humanity, which is so important for building rapport.
It kind of breaks down those walls.
Exactly.
And we see it play out with, Carlos, this kind of quiet, unassuming guy. It turns out he's the oldest of 9 children. And then there's Mikey, the marketing VP, who surprises everyone by revealing that she used to be a ballet dancer.
I mean, who knew, right? It's those unexpected things that make you go, oh, wow, I never would have guessed that about you. And it opens up the door for more connection.
Yeah, it makes you more relatable.
Yeah, exactly.
But the exercise also reveals that there are some underlying tensions, right? When Mikey gets teased a little bit about being a raging extrovert, she kind of shuts down.
Uh-oh. Red flag.
Yeah. And she basically refuses to participate for the rest of the evening.
That's a sign that she's not comfortable with vulnerability, right? She can't even handle some lighthearted teasing. It makes you wonder what else she's holding back.
And later by the pool, Catherine tries to talk to Mikey one-on-one, and Mikey's like, nope, they're not going to hear from me.
Classic avoidance behavior.
Yeah.
She's afraid to open up, afraid to be judged,
Right.
And that fear is toxic for a team. It prevents them from having those open, honest conversations that are so essential for growth.
So Catherine's definitely got her work cut out for her with this team. I'm curious to see how she handles this challenge, how she guides them toward building a more trusting, more cohesive environment.
Well, that's what I'll find out next time. Thinking about Mikey and her reluctance to be vulnerable, it really highlights that second dysfunction that Lencioni talks about, which is the fear of conflict. And Catherine really emphasizes that healthy conflict is essential for any team to grow. Just like in any relationship, right? You need that push and pull, those different perspectives.
Yeah, it's like iron sharpens iron.
Right, exactly. You need that friction to spark innovation and make good decisions.
But it's so counterintuitive, though, isn't it? I mean, we're kind of taught to avoid conflict, especially at work.
Right. But Catherine challenges that notion, She uses this great analogy. She compares it to a movie.
Oh, I like this.
She says, every great movie has conflict.
Right.
If you don't have that, the story's boring.
It's flat.
Exactly. And it's the same with teams. Conflict, it makes things interesting. It forces you to engage, to think critically, and ultimately to care about the outcome.
Yeah, it kind of raises the stakes.
It does.
So how does Catherine get this team, who's so used to avoiding conflict, how does she get them to embrace it?
Well, she throws them in the deep end, right? She announces that they're going to have their first real decision-making meeting, and there's no agenda.
Whoa.
Yeah, just go. And as you can imagine, they immediately start bickering about what their overarching goals should be for the rest of the year.
I bet.
Yeah, it's like, should we focus on market share, customer acquisition, revenue? And they're going back and forth.
Right.
And it's messy, it's uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
but they're finally having those tough conversations.
Right.
They're challenging each other, they're pushing back. And ultimately, that's what Catherine wants.
Because they're engaging, right?
Exactly. And through those disagreements, they can start to, clarify their priorities, figure out what really matters, and come to a shared understanding of what they're trying to achieve.
So it's not just about arguing for the sake of arguing.
No, it's about getting to the heart of the matter
Right.
and figuring out, okay, what are we really trying to do here
As a team.
as a team?
Okay, I'm with you.
And Catherine really drives home the point that they need to focus on collective results, not individual goals. And this is where she introduces this idea of a team scorecard,
Ooh, tell me about this.
where everyone is responsible for the company's success, not just their own department.
I like this.
Right. It's not about, marketing hitting their numbers or sales hitting their numbers.
Right.
It's about everyone working together to achieve the overall goal.
It's about the team winning, right?
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift in mindset, from competing with each other to collaborating
Collaborate.
towards a shared vision.
Love it.
And Catherine doesn't just, talk about it. She actually facilitates this exercise where they have to define their overarching goal.
Okay.
They have to debate the merits of each option until they finally agree on focusing on acquiring new customers.
Wow, so they're actually putting it into practice.
They are, and they're committing to it.
Yeah.
They even establish this regular meeting schedule,
Okay.
and they make this pact to hold each other accountable for their actions and decisions.
So it sounds like they're making real progress, but I have a feeling there are more challenges ahead.
Oh, there always are. And the very next day, they learn that Nick, the VP of Business Development, has been secretly meeting with a potential competitor.
Oh,
Yeah, behind everyone's back.
not good.
No, not good at all.
So what happens?
Well, Catherine finds out, and she's not having it.
Yeah.
She confronts Nick in front of the whole team and makes him apologize.
Wow.
It's a powerful scene because it really highlights the importance of accountability.
Right. You can't just go off and do your own thing,
Exactly.
especially when it affects the whole team.
Right, you're part of something bigger than yourself.
Okay, so Nick gets called out. What's his reaction?
Well, Nick's kind of a loose cannon. He's always looking out for himself, his career advancement.
Right.
And he actually suggests that they should acquire the competitor.
What?
Yeah, he's like, hey, let's just buy them. But Catherine sees right through it.
Yeah.
She's like, you're just bored. You want a new challenge.
So he's not really thinking about the team.
No, he's thinking about himself, and
Okay.
Catherine's not letting him get away with it.
Okay, for her.
Yeah, she calls him out for being self-serving and points out how an acquisition would just make their existing problems worse.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, it'd be like adding fuel to the fire.
And then, to make matters worse, JR, the head of sales, suddenly quits.
Yep, he goes back to his old company.
Oh, man. This team can't catch a break.
I know, right?
So what do?
Well, at first they're kind of in shock,
Yeah.
but then they pull together
Okay.
and they decide to find a solution.
And this is where we really start to see the team come together, right?
Exactly. Carlos, who, remember, was so quiet and hesitant to speak up,
Yeah.
he actually volunteers to take over sales.
Wow, that's huge for him.
It is. It shows how much he's grown and how committed he is to the team.
Right.
But then Jan, the CFO, she steps in.
Okay.
And she suggests that Nick would actually be a better fit for the sales leadership role, even though he hasn't worked in sales for a while.
Interesting.
Right, because they're starting to see each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And they're willing to put the team's needs above their own personal preferences.
They're thinking about the bigger picture.
Exactly. And what's even more remarkable is that Nick actually admits that he's been frustrated with the company's slow growth and wants to be more involved in closing deals.
So he's actually coming around.
He is. He's starting to buy into this idea of teamwork and collective success.
I love it.
And to top it off, Jeff, the former CEO, offers to mentor Nick as he transitions into this new role.
Wow, so everyone's stepping up.
They are. It's like they finally turned a corner.
It sounds like they're becoming a real team.
They are, but the question is, are they truly focused on results?
Right. That's the fifth dysfunction.
Exactly, and that's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
So they've tackled those first four dysfunctions, but now it comes down to that fifth one, inattention to results. Are they really going to put all this into practice and achieve those shared goals?
Yeah, are they all talk or can they actually walk the walk?
Right.
So to kind of put them to the test,
Okay.
Catherine decides to hold another offsite retreat back at that same inn in Napa.
Okay.
But this time it's less about, confronting problems and more about seeing how far they've come as a team.
It's like a checkup. Right.
Exactly. And from the moment they arrive, it's clear that something's different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're joking around, they're having these really productive discussions, and they're even holding each other accountable in a way that's actually constructive,
So give me an example. How's that accountability playing out?
Well, for instance, Carlos, who's now leading sales, he brings up a concern about the size of the engineering team.
Okay.
He's basically saying, maybe we need to shift some resources to sales, marketing, consulting,
That's pretty bold, especially coming from Carlos, who used to be so quiet.
Right. It shows how much he's grown.
Yeah.
And what's even more impressive is how Martin, the head of engineering, responds. Instead of getting all defensive, which was kind of his MO before, he actually listens to Carlos.
Okay.
And then he has this really calm, rational discussion with him about, the engineering resources.
So they're actually communicating effectively.
Yeah, they're being transparent, Martin even offers to walk them through the entire engineering organization. Like, here's what everyone's working on. Here's why.
So they're not operating in silos anymore.
No, they're actually working together.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a big shift.
And then I'm guessing things get a little more intense.
Oh, yeah, because now they have to make this tough decision about whether to actually cut back on engineering resources to free up funds for these other departments.
Right.
And this sparks some heated debate.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's different now.
How so?
They're still passionate, they're still pushing back on each other's ideas, but they're doing it in a way that's respectful. They're listening to each other, and they're really trying to find a solution that works for everyone.
So it's that healthy conflict that Catherine was talking about.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that they actually come up with this really creative solution.
Okay, tell me.
They decide to cut one future product line, delay another one, and then redeploy those engineers to help with sales demos.
Oh, wow. So they're thinking outside the box.
Yeah. They're finding ways to be resourceful and make the most of what they have.
Love that.
And just when they think they're really making headway, they get this unexpected visit from the board chairman.
Oh, this can't be good.
And he drops a bombshell.
What is it?
A competitor has made an acquisition offer.
Ooh, interesting.
And it's a generous offer, one that would make them all a lot of money.
Wow. So this is a real test.
It is.
Are they going to be tempted by that quick payout?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they going to stick to their vision and build the company that they've been fighting for?
Right. It's individual game versus collective success. And in the end, they unanimously decide to reject the offer.
Wow, they choose the team.
They do. They believe in their company. They believe in each other.
And they're not going to let anything get in the way of that.
Exactly. It's a powerful moment.
It really shows how far they've come.
Yeah.
They're truly committed to those results, not just for themselves, but for the entire team.
Absolutely. And, it's a reminder that building a high-performing team, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes a willingness to confront those tough issues head on.
But as we've seen with Decision Tech, the rewards are definitely worth it.
They are.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Thank you for bringing this book to our attention.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, we hope you found this insightful and maybe even a little bit inspiring. Think about the teams you're a part of. Do any of these dysfunctions sound familiar? How can you apply these principles to create a more cohesive and successful team? See you next time on the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. Until next time.
See you then.